Hey everybody, how are you? Thanks for watching and or listening. Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm here with Jim McCormick, and Jim and I are here to talk about Conference Championship weekend. Jim McCormick, you old so-and-so. How are you?
I'm good. What I do is I take off the divisional round to prepare for the championship round. It's like I have two bye weeks, so it's good. I like it.
You and the Eagles both. Lots of bye weeks interspersed into December and January. And so yeah, our goal is to forget last week. Last week's results were not great. I went 1-3 in the games against the spread. Jim went 0-4 in the games against the spread. I went, I think, 2-1 in props, and Jim went 2-2 in props. We did a little better in the prop area. But yeah, we met. Here's the thing, Jim. I would be willing to cut us some slack on our divisional round results because I felt like, honestly, Tampa gets that 2-point conversion that Mike Evans doesn't fight for on a fade route. He gets an interference clearly if he just fights for it a little bit. And suddenly it's 6 and we win that bet. We're on the right side there. It's fine. The Bills-Chiefs, there was no right side. It was a dumb, big, fun, stupid golden retriever of a game, and like the kicker misses it, and then Josh Allen doesn't make the throw, and I still feel like that was fine. We both said at the time we didn't love it either side. I would be willing to give ourselves all sorts of excuses, except for the two of us got on this show last week and said everything else is totally in flux, but the one thing you can count on is for sure the Niners are going to cover against the Packers, and that was never the right side the entire day.
No, that was a comeuppance.
It
That was
was
a comeuppance.
it was the wrong comeuppance though. It was the wrong one. It's supposed to be Green Bay come.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end they got it, but not the way we expected.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk about the NFC game second, but just the lingering stink that comes from that game. I have to assume anybody who's thinking about the NFC Championship game has to have the lingering stink of the 49er offensive performance in their nostrils.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's a part of me that, like, I watched that game again, which was difficult for me because once I abandoned my betting prediction, I went into full anti 49ers mode, and
And you knew the outcome.
I love Greg Olson.
Yeah.
Greg Olson was just refusing to accept what was happening in front of him. He was like, Brock Purdy's playing incredibly. I was like, in the circumstances of his own creation. But yeah, no, that was just. There were so many plays that should have, like the Savage play, right? There were just so many plays that should have turned into costly mistakes. But in the end, I had no idea what was going to happen, I guess, because I was like, there's no way they come out in 12 personnel. There's no way they're able to run on them. And the first drive, Aaron Jones is getting what he wants. And so I was like, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But like, again, it really didn't have to do with the Packers' offense is nice. It had nothing to do with that, really. Our assumption was that also they would just forget Christian McCaffrey existed for every once in a while.
So long in the game, that strategy coming out was not to use McCaffrey running the ball. So weird.
Especially when Debo goes down, I'm like, okay, and they were like, no, Jawan Jennings reverses.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's like what is this? Mecole Hardman disease? Like,
Yeah,
come on,
weird.
Like,
Weird. All right, so I feel like I set us off on the wrong path because we're not going to talk about that game first. We'll get to it, folks. I promise. Let me congratulate the viewer / listener last week who was better at this than us. Night Fiend, congratulations. Picked the Packers. Packers money line looked pretty good for a while in that game, to be honest. And again, if you didn't have a liquored up kicker, I don't think he's liquored up, but kind of kicked like
he might be better if he had a couple drinks.
Well, that's the Vanderjat, right? That's the Vanderjat
Yes.
reference. But yeah, this guy probably wasn't born when Vanderjat was kicking because we're old. Which Carlson is it for Green Bay? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter which Carlson.
Yeah.
Anders. And that. Yeah. By the time our bets were done, I was like, yeah, go ahead, Green Bay, just win. It's fine. I don't care. So, all right. So, Night Fiend, first of all, congratulations. Let's thank DraftKings for sponsoring. I'll talk about them in a second. And you know, if you
sounds like a Marvel character, by the way.
Night Fiend. If DraftKings, if you don't have a DraftKings account, it'd be a nice little thing to do here towards the end, just to say thanks for them making this show possible all the way through. But we're going to start talking about the AFC. And, in retrospect, based on kind of how I felt on Saturday watching the two games, I'm now surprised at myself that I didn't have Baltimore as my best bet. And I wouldn't probably have been crowing about like this for my one correct point spread bet from the entire weekend at halftime when it was tied. But I even then felt like, because it was a punt return, right? I just never felt like the Texans offense was really going to do anything. And I like CJ Stroud, but in the end, they really just didn't. And so now it's obvious what the test is here for Baltimore. Like, Kansas City's defense is good. Lamar Jackson has some issues. Like, there's stuff that's going to happen on that side of the ball, but what are we all really paying to see in this AFC Championship game? It's Patrick Mahomes against that defense, and that defense comes out of that game pretty much smelling like a rose. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. You're saying the Baltimore defense, when it came out of the game, right?
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I suppose I just have like a goldfish memory about how like dynamic they looked. And again, I guess it was difficult to tell because it was that Miami team, but just like the varied looks they gave, or actually even going like even prior to that, like I guess it was the MVP debate against the 49ers, that game as well. Like now that doesn't look maybe quite as dynamic because Purdy maybe on that swoon again, or it seems more of a trend that he's had a couple bad games. But my point is really that Baltimore has a real argument to be what I thought Cleveland was on defense, like the team that actually imposes its will on every level. And yeah, like I just saying like I don't know so much about football, but I can try to predict what's going to happen based on the formation and stuff. And clearly, I think Patrick Mahomes reads defenses a little bit better than me, but they do a lot of deception, is what I'm trying to say. Like in this league of single high, in this league of kind of not vanilla defenses, but that like a lot of common trends, they're bucking that. Also, I think it helps that they have like two superstar safeties. But my main point is just that they are going to be really fun against this team. It's like as if, because we've talked about it, but that Bills defense, as well as they've tried to keep it together, like they've been in demise all year, erosion rather, not demise. They've lost so many players that I think it's really fun because we're seeing a full strength defense against Patrick Mahomes. I just think that is the funnest challenge of this game and reading this game.
Yeah. Like, and believe me, my framing the topic that way doesn't mean that therefore Mahomes can't do it, right? I mean,
right.
He very much clearly can. He is very clearly the best quarterback left. Very clearly the best quarterback usually wins the Super Bowl. Like, there's a great case to be made that Mahomes will rise to this challenge. The challenge, I mean, Kansas City came out against Buffalo in 3 tight end formations, right? They basically said, go ahead, AJ Klein. You have to use AJ Klein? Okay, guess what we're going to do? And in the end, they especially in the first half, Buffalo's defense just lost track of Travis Kelce. The touchdown, he's blown coverage, but he's completely wide open. And in watching it live, my thought is not like, gosh, those two guys sure were confused. My thought was, why is it one guy? Why wasn't there redundancy? Why wasn't there a second guy on Travis Kelce? He's the guy through the air who's going to beat you. Of all, like with Kyle Hamilton on Baltimore's defense, of all the scenarios that I imagine happening, that's not one of them.
Exactly. Yeah, they have the personnel to match it. That's what's fascinating is that you wouldn't expect those gaps to occur, and there is a personnel thing at some point. You could scheme everything you want, but AJ Klein is the Joe Flacco of linebackers. This guy was literally just bought off. What I'm saying is brought out of his couch. I think it was in his couch, actually.
Bring him out of the couch.
Yeah. And they were like, where's AJ been? And he was in that folding couch and just was screaming. But the real point is that this team has all of those things. They also have good coverage linebackers. Roquan isn't the best linebacker, and Patrick Queen surely has his issues, but it's not speed is one of them, right?
Yeah.
Which direction to go to apply that speed can be an issue. But what I'm saying is I'm really fascinated. It's also, Marcus Williams was a $72 million safety. He was Jesse Bates the year before in the sense of the game-changing safety. And I don't regret at all that the Eagles took Jordan Davis over Kyle Hamilton. I never think about that. But this is the reason I love it the most is that there's an ace card and an ace card. It's that terrible percentage calculator on a poker, on poker TV. Meaning they're going to have to go to Kelce and they're going to have to play Hamilton. So it's a best on best thing. It's not there's just not any obvious fix, and that's why this is one of the tougher games for me to read. And we'll talk about it, but I love the line because it's it's they got this one. It's intentionally tricky.
And we will say Marlon Humphrey, practicing in full, should be back. Best corner that Baltimore has. And I mean, to some degree, do you need a corner against, like, what matters is the middle of the field against the Chiefs. If you can get the Chiefs throwing outside the numbers as great as Mahomes is, you're going to win because those receivers are bad.
I mean, MVS made a catch, though. Let's be honest.
He made that one downfield catch. It was a big play. Like, Stephon Diggs couldn't make his, right? Like, you know, I will grant you that, but I will also say, you know, you aren't going to travel Marlon Humphrey, but you are going to play a lot of man because that's what Baltimore does, and you're going to try to muddy the middle of the field. And I don't know, like, you've said this before, and I've kind of learned from you, the Ravens really aren't the Ravens anymore as far as Wink Martindale, as far as blitzing. Like, they're gonna try to muddle looks with 7 guys in coverage, and you're not gonna, like, confuse Mahomes any more than you're gonna confuse Tom Brady. But you can you can maybe give your pass rush an extra second or two to get there. There's potentially, I think we're pretty sure there's no Joe Thuney in this game now, the best guard for Kansas City. Like, there's a lot of stuff here. Again, I've only focused on one side of the ball. There's a lot of stuff here that makes me think at least the relative ease with which Mahomes was able to move last week, only running fewer than 50 plays on offense. Buffalo had the ball the whole night, but Mahomes made no mistakes, just never made any mistakes. That, to me, things are building up where it's not going to be as easy for Mahomes.
Yeah, that's true. And then also, like you said, like he doesn't have the winners in space that he had prior, like, years ago. Obviously, there's no Tyreek Hill, I think, last time I checked. But yeah, no, just like you're right. They're relying on his sidestepping. He's creating time. I'm not saying he can cover forever. I'm just saying if any team can win in man in a difficult situation, it's this Baltimore roster. Right. So it's strength on strength, which we don't really get that often in this NFL. You know, so
in the other direction,
I'm not sure if that's true. It just sounded good. It sounds cool.
So in the other direction, it's important and it will be fun. And Lamar Jackson is a stud. It isn't, to me, the marquee part of the game, but it's like going to be obviously super, super important. Spags, the defensive coordinator in Kansas City, and he usually has a really good plan. What's the plan for Lamar Jackson? No, nobody's going to say you're not going to, Lamar Jackson is going to account for 250 offensive yards no matter what you do. It's just, that's the fact. But counting stats don't really capture. I mean, Josh Allen got stopped when he needed to get stopped. Spags rose to the occasion. What will you do different against Lamar than you did against Josh Allen if you're Kansas City's defense?
That's a great question. Pray a little bit. I don't know. No, like, honestly, I think it's that they can blitz with corners, like, maybe not with corners, but they can blitz and still retain some coverage between, McBride and why am I blanking this? He's been there forever. Great cornerback. Either way,
you mean McDuffie, right? The slot guy.
Yeah. So the guy that they drafted last year. Yeah. So I guess my point is that they have the ability to send the pressure and still retain some sense of coverage, which the Bills didn't. Like, when the Bills, they didn't blitz that much. But when they did, they were going to eat it. Like, they were going to get a big gash. Something was going to be left available. They were going to lose the numbers game. I don't think you're going to lose the numbers game as much with this Chiefs defense. Did I say that right? No, I inversed that, didn't I? Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't care about the Bills defense. I'm talking about the Kansas City defensive game plan against the Bills as opposed to the Kansas City defensive game plan against Baltimore. And what I'll say is there's probably a lot of overlap. There probably is. But I actually think you were, I'll say, meandering through the part of this that I think is right, which is that Kansas City kind of brought some heat. Like,
they do, yeah.
Kind of confused, like, from weird places. McDuffie kid, who's awfully good. Like, isn't he the first team All-Pro slot corner? Like,
yeah, no, he's awesome.
He came probably high single-digit times, and that's not expected. That's not always what he's done all year. It's just, I wonder to some degree if now Baltimore's seen it.
Yeah, I mean, that helps that they can create some interior pressure. Ed Oliver was terrible last week. Yeah, like, meaning winning his reps, and if with regards to the guard being out, like, they're an interior offensive line.
All right, but I'm on the other side of the ball though. I'm on.
No, but I'm babbling here. I'm wrong. Like, but I'm actually thinking about Chris Jones. I don't know why I brought up. I keep doing this. Why did I talk about the Kansas City offensive line when I'm talking about so what I'm really saying is that Chris Jones can win in places that the Bills, I keep saying the Bills, that Chris Jones can win against the Ravens in ways that other teams can't. And I think that's going to be the key.
Got it.
Because they're terrible against zone read. Like they did run like the Chiefs, so like 28th in EPA against like zone read quarterback plays. So that does have something to say about, like, Allen did have the running game. It's just that the passing that's how they made up for what was it, like 4 point whatever yards per attempt. It was gross.
Yeah.
They made up for it with his running.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the key is. The key is that he's going to run. Lamar's going to be able to run. I guess the question is, and maybe it's back to you, is like, how do you stop Lamar when he buys that time? Like, and then does any throws. Like, and also it's not the best receiving core he's probably ever had, though, in terms of a collective. So. Of weapons, because Mark Andrews. Are we assuming Mark Andrews is back?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think he's practicing in full all week.
Okay, well, that's big too.
That is big too. If he's fully himself and if he's fully, cardiovascular, all that stuff. I get it. It isn't 100% to just assume you're throwing down a full strength Mark Andrews into the team, but it matters for sure. It matters. I think. You can run on Kansas. I think everybody's been running on Kansas City. James Cook ran on Kansas City,
right.
And certainly Josh Allen, you're right, ran on Kansas City. I think you're going to have a hard time throwing on him. I think if you're Baltimore, maybe you might be right. Maybe Andrews completely changes this equation in the same way that Kelsey, to a lesser extent, Andrews probably. But so maybe I'm wrong about this, but Zay Flowers hasn't really been consistent, and I don't know what's wrong with Odell Beckham, but he catches one pass a game, and it's essentially like a 3-man weave at the non-Zay Flowers receiving positions. Right. And I don't trust Rashad Bateman. I don't trust freaking Nelson Aguilar. So I'll tell you, if Kansas City finds a way to score early and the run game is less important for Baltimore, I think that's big trouble for Baltimore. Yeah,
because then what's their outlet? Like, what do they do?
They got to throw.
They got to throw, and that's not great for them.
Right.
Yeah. There's styles make fights we've talked about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that Spags can do this, and then they're not the same player, but there are some things to learn about how they capped like Josh Allen. That's interesting.
And like the Baltimore didn't do much wrong in the game against Houston, but if you're going to have special teams like that and give up just a random punt return for a touchdown, that's again against Patrick Mahomes. That's a total game changer. Didn't turn out to be against the Texans because you were just a lot better than them. But you're not a lot better than Kansas City if you are better at all. I don't know. I'll say Willie Gay left that game with a neck injury. He's a really good player. I think we underestimated how we talked kind of a little bit of smack about him to start the year. I think
we did.
He's pretty damn good player. And Mike Edwards, who I think is fine at safety, but he was out with a concussion. As of our recording this, I don't know the fate of either one of those guys. I think Tooney's going to be out, but I don't think Edwards. I'm sure he's a nice man. That doesn't bother me as much. But if Willie Gay were out, that would legitimately be a problem.
Yeah, particularly we're not even just talking about Andrews, but even the way they use likely. It's something they do, and there's something to be said about. The time that he buys, that Lamar buys, it's going to put those guys in having to cover the space. And one of Willie Gay's best thing is he's one of the best side to side guys. I think he's
fast guy.
Basically he's Queen with a smarter Queen. To be nice.
Queen with GPS, Patrick Queen with GPS.
Yeah, or a GPA. Yeah.
Yeah. As of our recording this, we just don't know. The line, as of our recording this, is 3.5. Baltimore 3.5. Now, I think there, rightly so, is going to be some people looking at this game and saying, wait, you're giving Patrick Mahomes points? I'm going to take them again and laugh at you. And I have no rebuttal for that. I don't. I have no rebuttal. To be honest, we both took Buffalo last week, and we both said, but there's an easy way this gets ruined, and it's because Mahomes is awesome, and he was absolutely awesome. I think this is a harder challenge for him, but so what? He'll just rise to a harder challenge. Of course, I understand why anybody wants to take Kansas City here, and you may. I completely understand why, just because it's the Brady theory. You're going to give Tom Brady points? Rock on, And frankly, Lamar as a favorite, of more than like a field goal stinks, doesn't cover, like isn't good. So like if people just want to take that tack and kind of disregard the last 15 minutes of us talking about this game, I completely understand.
That's where I'm going.
I completely understand.
I just talked up Baltimore and how dynamic they are, but the reason I prefaced like how they got the line perfectly was, I had it at 2.5, and that's obviously it is actually a fairly big gap when the games are this good and the teams are this good.
Right.
It's not a normal, so it's a point, but I just couldn't feel myself giving more than that. Like I could understand 3. I still would have obviously taken the Chiefs given how I choose my games, but I'm taking the Chiefs because it's the defense. Like Mahomes is amazing. He's already the factor. He's the reason. I don't know why I said that it's the defense. They are the differentiating factor between the gap. Like they're so good that I think what I'm trying to say is there's a way that Mahomes can just have to make a few of his big plays as opposed to carrying the whole load, like making the spectacular plays. I just think that defense and Spags particularly is having a great year. And for all the watered down they made their skill group, a lot of that resource went towards defense. And like if Willie Gay is active, but we know the cornerbacks are going to be active. Snead is who I meant. Sorry, but like I just came to my brain. But like they have good corners, and they have a better cornerback group than these guys have receivers. So if it comes down to Lamar. It comes down to Lamar being going super Lamar, which is completely possible.
Right.
But I'm going to guess the other guy goes super regularly. Like, meaning the 99th percentile, dude. Like last week, I saw some counters to Allen's game, which wasn't a great game, but the EPA he created, even if like EPA is not important, we'll just use it as a measure. Like, meaning it is important, but it's not a single factor. But the factor is that he had like a 92nd percentile EPA. Mahomes was 99. Like he's just running on a different tier than everybody else, and I just don't see why I would doubt that right now. So I'm gonna go with the Patrick Mahomes. I want Baltimore to win. But I'm going Kansas City.
I'm doubting it.
Yeah, good.
No, I mean, I'm gonna take the same tack that I took last week, which is that I grant you, I agree that if it comes down to Baltimore needing to throw and the back seven of Kansas City against the receiving corps of Baltimore, I know Mark Andrews is back. I wouldn't like Baltimore in that case. Would not like it. Mm-hmm. If we get something funky, we get a fumble return for a touchdown. If we get a Chiefs lead, I'm gonna feel dumb. I'm not gonna like it at all because I don't think that's the mode Baltimore can succeed in. But I just think they're a lot better. And I'm not going to disregard all the stuff that we thought we learned all season long about the Chiefs. About okay, their floor is high, but my God, their ceiling is low. And I mean, let's face it, there are plenty of ways that Buffalo still could have won that game last week if they weren't Buffalo.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And we would be saying Mahomes didn't make a single mistake. Mahomes didn't even take a sack. I mean, I think he's got 3 playoff games in a row with no sacks and no turnovers. Like the guy's insane. He's amazing.
I mean, just the craziest stat is his first road playoff game.
Right.
That's just a seasonal accomplishment
right.
thing. But his 16 games of playoff performance are like better than any MVP season of the last 10 years.
Right.
So
so like I'll grant all that. But if Buffalo had done like 1 or 2 non-stupid things, Stephon Diggs could catch a ball. Like the field goal kicker wasn't a jittering mess. Like any of those things happened, we'd be saying, man, the Chiefs really should be ashamed of themselves. Mahomes submitted that performance and they lost.
Yes,
like we would be spinning it around completely. So
even in the context of that performance, right?
So I'm trusting my eyes, even though I understand I don't feel confident about it at all because Mahomes is just great. He's just great. All right, so we'll get to the other game in a second. Let's thank DraftKings for being such a nice, lovely, wonderful sponsor. And if you're looking for a place where you can play these games this coming Sunday, we would love it if you would use DraftKings. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up using one word, the code HarrisTube. I'm sure celebrity producer Dave Pyper is putting it on the screen right now. I'm positive. HarrisTube. And if you do that, you make one $5 bet. Instantly, you'll get $200 in bonus bets into your account right then, and you can pick totals, you can pick parlays, you can pick teasers, you can do all sorts of fun things, not just with these conference championship games, but with other sports as well. And it's a wonderful way that you could give back to us for some nice promotion all year, where we've tried to be fun and have good information. Sometimes, mostly, hopefully, make you laugh. And then you'll let DraftKings know that sponsoring works. So again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up using the code HarrisTube. One $5 bet means $200 in bonus bets instantly to play around with. Thank you to DraftKings. All right. I lied. We're not talking about NFC right away because there's news as of our recording this that I'm not positive Jim McCormick even knows because it happened pretty quickly right before we started, which is that the Dolphins have parted company with Vic Fangio. Were you aware of this, Jim McCormick?
I was not. No, I mean, I feel like he's going to Philadelphia now. So
you are correct. That is the rumor. As of our recording this, Vic Fangio is slated, and maybe by the time people are listening to and or hearing this, already is the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator. I don't need to ask the question because I know that suddenly it became harder for you to sit. Let's put it that way. You are probably very excited about this.
Well, I mean, only in the context of the fact that we interviewed Ron Rivera. I always say we, but let's just go with it. We interviewed Ron Rivera last week, right? Riverboat Ron, just to see, I don't know what his tarot card said. I have no idea. Why would you want to talk to him? But I do have this little piece of information. I sat next to Vic Fangio at the Nuggets game, the Sixers-Nuggets game in 2019, the day he was announced, like his first public appearance. And I'm sitting next to him, and I swear to God, I'm sitting in like seventh row. And I'm like, you couldn't get better seats, Vic? And he was laughing. And then he's from Philadelphia. So I said, dude, you know you're rooting for the Sixers. And he was like, don't tell anybody. And that's all my story. Also, here's the other story. Fangio in a Philadelphia accent. Yeah, Fangio. Yeah, Fangio. So I just want to say that. Yeah.
I mean, he's your favorite defensive coordinator in the league, and now he's going to be calling defensive plays probably for your NFL team. I'm assuming you're rather happy from a football perspective and not just a seventh row perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd also be cool, like, to get players who are better, but that we'll see. We'll figure that out. Like, I mean, the career arc of 31-year-old corners. Let's not dismiss that this time. Okay.
Right. And so it's hilarious that you frame it that way because before you came on and I was talking with Dave Pyper before we hit record, I said, this is great, and Jim's going to be excited, but the first thing he's going to say is the corners are terrible. We need different people. Of course, you're 100% right. But Fangio brings what he brings. Like, I wouldn't even call him super aggressive. He plays a lot of cover two. Like, it's a lot of cover two, but he mixes defensive backs. Yeah. He mixes it up in the middle of the field a lot.
That's what it is. Yeah. And again, we're going to do I'm just going with it. I'm not going to fight it. The Philadelphia Eagles, separate from my life, they don't consult me. You'd be surprised. I can't believe I said they are going to have to really focus on not just defensive backs at the top, but defensive back depth, because he exposes 5 or 6. And Miami, it worked until it didn't, when Xavier Howard was like, hey, I just don't want to play football anymore. But, the Javon Holland, they had things that the Eagles don't have. People is what I meant by things. But yeah, I'm excied because it's not Matt Patricia, which is cool.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The best was the tweet that Tom Pelissero put out, with no editing from the agent. That was Matt Patricia is still has a lot of ways to help a team, and he's going to be one of the most coveted defensive coordinators. I was like, show us the text. Show us whose text you do this.
Yeah, if and when Bill Belichick becomes a coach, we'll find that out. So, yeah, I mean, I will also add that the Dolphins lost all their pass rushers, right? It's very clear.
It's a very bad injuries. The Achilles and an ACL. It's not coming right back either.
So. All right, so let's now Jim can still sit. That's good to know. You can still sit. You don't just walk it off. We're going to talk about the NFC, and we teased it off the top with the Brock Purdy experience. This is Lions at 49ers. I wouldn't say either one of these teams set the world on fire in their divisional round. I don't think, whereas Kansas City and Baltimore came out of their respective games oh, damn. They're really good, and I would be scared of them. Of course, Detroit and San Francisco are both really good, but neither burnished their images in their NFC divisional round games. And since we started with it before off the top of the show, I'll get right back to Brock Purdy. He makes people crazy on social media because he either has to be terrible or amazing. There's no middle ground. It's not possible. It was either a wet ball or he's awful at football, and probably the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a lot for mom jeans everywhere. I mean, whatever he's wearing, like no belt, just jeans. He's just incredible. He's a brave guy. I'm not even sure what his look is. It's like Bugle Boy or something. Whatever it is, that's an old reference.
I got it.
Our producer Dave was a Bugle Boy model. That's the only reason I brought it up. Like he was in the Jeep, couldn't drive. Just like what's a 12-year-old doing in a Jeep? Probably stole it.
Nice jeans.
But here's the thing.
Nice jeans.
Yeah, I'm just focused on the jeans, not the 12-year-old. I'm not. Let's just focus on the fact that Brock Purdy has been volatile this year. The whole idea that there's this like one version and he's the steady game manager. He almost threw a Jimmy pick. That was a Jimmy pick.
Oh baby.
Darnell Savage. Was the classic Jimmy pick.
Yeah.
Didn't see it at all. Just trusted the calculator that said Shanahan says press button here, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And he didn't pay for his sins last week. The one thing that gives me some reservations is that Detroit. It's not like Detroit has this dynamic secondary, right? So, but what they do have is a better pass rush naturally. I mean, look, Kenny Clark was an animal. He was he's like what Jordan Clark's supposed to be. He was just like running all over the field, punishing people. But on the edge, like Rashawn Gary was okay, but like I just believe like Hutch is really playing well. The defensive line in general is playing well. I just have concerns about and I use this word a lot because it's ridiculous, but the back seven, the 7 people who play in the back. Because
now the 7 in the front are fine. We're okay with those 7 in the front.
Yeah.
The 7 in the
back.
back.
No overlap.
Yeah.
Look, football is a Venn diagram, okay? And in the middle is Alex Anzalone, who has beautiful hair, but he's not very good at football. So I have some concerns about that. And I actually have a prop bet related to that I can share at some point. Should we do it now? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think McCaffrey's going over 33.5 receiving yards. So go ahead.
All right, we'll get to all the. I forgot to do the props for the kid. We'll do all the props at the end.
Later.
Yeah, we'll do all 4 props or the props for both games at the end.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the truth about Brock Purdy is that he does have a horseshoe lodged in his posterior a lot of the time, and there's a way for that game to have gone badly, like real early, and not in a non-recoverable sort of way. And
exactly.
For 3 quarters, he was another jittery mess. He was off. He was not seeing it. He overthrew, just popped balls over guys' heads. Like, it was awful. And that's great, because if he stayed that way for the fourth quarter, he'd be Mac Jones and no one would have any questions. But the fact is, his team stayed close. His defense didn't play great, but they did enough. And when they needed it, it's true of Jared Goff too. Jared Goff was better. Jared Goff also should have thrown an interception, maybe not a pick 6, but should have thrown a pick early in that game. But in each case, both teams needed drives in the fourth quarter, and both quarterbacks, who are probably fairly maligned in some cases, both came up nails. Like, it's okay to say that every so often a player that you're not convinced is Hall of Fame worthy can find his way through to making a few great throws. The party throw on that last drive to Aiyuk, you couldn't do better. Brady couldn't do better. It was amazing.
No, it was awesome. It was awesome. I did see somebody frame it as like, this is exactly how Joe Montana played. I was like, okay, calm down.
Joe Montana would puke on himself for 3 quarters. Yeah.
Do you mean for the Chiefs?
Yeah,
No, but you're right. They stayed in the position. The team had, and that's the thing. You mentioned the Chiefs have this high floor and a cap ceiling, but like the scary thing about the 49ers is they do have a high floor because they're able to survive such things with McCaffrey taking off and making that play, with Debo before he was hurt, he was doing what he wanted, with Kittle, like, it's and then even like Dre Greenlaw, like when your second best linebacker would be the best linebacker for like 25 teams, that's a good thing. And so they just have a high floor and they have the ceiling because those splash plays change games. And I know they're volatile. They're not predictable all the time, like turnover creation or splash plays on offense. But this team generates a lot of them because they scheme them and they actually have the personnel for it. So I hate to say it, but they're built to survive those things. So the question is what's happening to Brock Purdy being coerced by scheme and defense? Because it didn't exactly seem like that to me last week. It seemed like he was off from the jump. Like, everything was off. It wasn't just, I'm not mechanics or anything, but everything seemed strange to him. Like, his feet were pattering. Whereas before this year, when he was at his best in the weird mirage of MVP consideration, which was worthy and statistically, he just like stepped him through. And that did not seem like where he was this week. So, I guess the real question is, can Detroit create stress for that guy beyond a few flushing him a few times? Can it be like relentless? Because I feel like they have to be relentless. I think the Detroit defense has to do something spectacular to me. So
I would agree with you in theory, except for I don't know that Green Bay did anything all that spectacular defensively.
No, but I suppose
the weather was bad and the hand size is real, and like I get it. It could just boil down to Brock Purdy. Like there's the Cleveland game, right? There's this
right.
Green Bay game. Maybe that's all.
Isn't the Green Bay offense better than Detroit's? I mean, just at least how Love was playing until the end. He was off schedule at the end, but he was playing a pretty optimal game himself.
Sure, but I mean, you asked me.
Goff do that?
But you asked me like, can Detroit do enough to get Brock Purdy off his game? And my question is, well, I don't think Detroit's defense is great, but Green Bay, after this amazing defensive run, fired their defensive coordinator. So I don't think their defense was that great either.
It's interesting. I asked you a question about defense, and then I was like, "What about the quarterback?" So that's yeah. Sorry.
That's fine. I think at base, I'm with you. San Francisco's going to score points in a game where Brock Purdy didn't play very well. They scored points. Like the Niners have a lot of. I'll say this though, like Deebo Samuel, we don't know at all. I mean, I guess I'll tell you that I have my suspicion, but as of our recording this, officially 50-50 to be able to play. I think in the NFL in the playoffs, 50-50 means 90-10 that he's going to be out there. But I also think the idea that he's going to have 10 carries is not on the it's not on the docket. You have one more game after this one, and so it's fair if people want to say even if we have Deebo, it's not full Deebo, and that's a problem because here are the splits. Don't you know the splits when Deebo plays and when Deebo doesn't play? As if that's the only variable, right? We always played the same opponent, and they always played us exactly the same way. This is the Cowboys' home record thing. Yeah, they played the Patriots at home. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. It's like Tom Brady's terrible without Gronkowski.
Right.
Okay, guys.
So but Deebo matters. He's a good player. I don't think he matters 3 points. I don't think it's like when people see this line and say, "Wow, the line is 7, right?" And when people saw that line, they were like, "Wow, that's an assumption that Deebo's definitely playing." I'm like, "Wow, okay." I mean, I saw that a lot. I saw national people on TV saying, well, this line, obviously they know something we don't know. Deebo Samuel's definitely playing. And if you told me Deebo's out, I'd be like, what's this line? 7. Like, I don't know that I think it changes that much.
No, I don't think so either. Like it feels, I mean, look, the projected spread, they do this before the games for Tampa was 10.5, right? So there was, now that didn't, I guess, bake in the Deebo thing, but my point is there's always going to be some heavy favorite situation here. Also, like there's a return to the larger sample size with San Francisco. Like they've been really good all year.
Yeah. So's Detroit.
I'm
though.
excited for this
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Let me talk about the other side though, because Jared Goff on the road. It's not a dome. I mean, I think the weather's supposed to be fine, but if he plays bad, no one will remember the weather was fine. They'll just say, "See, Jared Goff on the road." That was my Dak voice. Here we go. I did a little Dak there. I don't think conditions are going to be the point here. Let me ask you this question. I saw some Bosa in that game, and I know I was told by the people who know these things that San Francisco had a 40% pressure rate against Jordan Love and the Packers last week. And all I can say is it sure didn't feel like it. I don't know who counts pressures because it was 0 sacks, and I felt like Jordan Love had plenty of time. Did you see a different game?
I did not feel duress. Actually, for a while, like at the end, Bosa had he had a couple of penetrations, but I thought that they did really well in keeping them at bay. You didn't hear Javon Hargrave's name. Chase Young, you didn't hear anything about.
Dude, I was about to say, do Chase Young and Eric Armstead still play on that team?
It was incredible. To tell you the truth, I don't know what a pressure is. Is it like a mental thing? It's like he felt stressed because it doesn't seem like a physical manifestation. Like he didn't flush, like he wasn't running. It wasn't like this wasn't some bootleg game all day. He was operating from the pocket and stepping up.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to go back and look at more nuance there, but I guess pressure is like beating your guy. I mean, that's a pass rush win rate or whatever, so it doesn't even mean you got there. It just means you got by him.
I don't know.
He got rid of the ball quickly, so we'll see.
Smart people know these things. I'm not smart, but like, here's what we say about Jared Goff. If you blitz him, he will, be bad. And oh my God, against Tampa, all they do is blitz. So for sure, they're just going to blitz him and he's going to be bad. And then Todd Bowles, who you said last week, not trying to light you up, I agreed, he does what he does and all he's going to do is blitz. They didn't blitz at all.
And he sat back. Yeah.
Like, that seems like a very stupid decision. But here's the thing. I know the Niners aren't going to blitz. The Niners don't blitz. The Niners don't, every so often. But the whole point of getting 7,000 superheroes and the defensive line is that we don't have to blitz anymore. So it's, I guess, yes, I agree that if it's Jared Goff under blitz-like pressure from 4 guys with 7 guys in coverage, that's not a bet that I want to particularly take. Like, I get that. I get that would be not the time where you want to back what we know of Jared Goff. Like, he would have to rewrite who he is pretty significantly. But I go back to, I didn't see it last week. I didn't see that rush. I didn't see that much pressure with 4.
No, it didn't. Like, the havoc to me was created by the linebackers. I thought they were everywhere. Like, Fred Warner was on every play. Like, meaning in the coverage, but nothing. Coverage. No, meaning like, I felt their presence. I didn't feel it. I didn't play last week. But I saw their presence. Felt like on the side to sideness. It felt like a classic linebacker duo. It felt like a Kuechly and his friend, the guy. So they looked like they were all over the field. But the defense, it didn't seem like the pressure was the issue for Jordan Love. Honestly, Jordan Love didn't seem like he had any issues until he started throwing 3 feet behind people at the end.
Right.
So
I agree. I thought he played really well, and then the last drive, he had a legitimate chance, and his first throw was like running towards the right sideline, throw it all the way back against your body in the middle of the field. Like, duh. I mean, that pass you knew was intercepted the second he decided to throw it. No chance.
I mean, it was like, Brett Favre not only has the power to collapse like public funding, he can also enter it was like one of those it was like Travolta and Nicolas Cage. He was face off. Like, he became Jordan Love for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
So the last thing I'll just say about the details of this game and going in this direction is I want to piggyback on something you said to start, which is Aaron Jones, which is, I guess you can run on the Niners because, we both said last week, well, our problem here is that Aaron Jones ran on the Cowboys and I just don't, and people have been running on the Cowboys and nobody runs on the Niners. So there's no way to really answer this question intelligently. We're going to know when we know, but going into last week's game, I would have said that was way more about the Cowboy defense and the Packers aren't going to be able to run the Niners. And now, having seen Aaron Jones go absolutely bananas on the Niners, I go, am I have the Niners, I don't see any personnel that's different, but if you can run, if suddenly Detroit, a pretty good running offense, can run, that changes things.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And Jones is just amazing right now, but it was blocked up. It's not like he just was it wasn't just magic. He just had the lanes. I was really surprised by that. It was the number one thing that I said wouldn't happen, which is really fun. Yeah, I have to give credit to Green Bay for just imposing its will on a team that I didn't think you could do that against. So,
totally agree. But if you asked me 3 weeks ago who had the better offensive line between Green Bay and Detroit, I'd say, Green Bay's young and improving.
Exactly.
And
right.
Detroit is the best in the world. Trent Williams plays for San Francisco, but as a group, and they might not be fully healthy on the offensive line either. Ragnow probably play, and then the left guard got hurt. But I give him a chance to run. All right, so we've danced around it, and actually, you haven't really tipped your hand how you're leaning rather. We got the San Francisco's -7 home. Detroit, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm giving the points, even though Purdy could just throw gelato everywhere. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that means anything. That's probably a nice thing to do. I just try to think something that San Francisco people could something nicer than maybe sorbet.
Rice-a-roni? You could just...
Yeah. The funny thing is, they're we don't eat that. That's terrible. It's just I just eat jars of cream cheese. But yeah, I just think this team has the high floor, the high ceiling. They have it all. And my biggest concern with it's just the linebackers are just really not very good for Detroit, and they're going to really make it the thing. They're going to get those guys in space. They're going to get those guys Alex Anzalone is just going to have to rely on his beautiful hair because he's not going to be stopping Christian McCaffrey. I think like last week we talked about McCaffrey. I think this is the McCaffrey week where he just again, maybe if they realize that he's on the team half the time.
He went over. I had him as a prop and he did go over, but it was very nervous. It was the end of the game when he got there. We're on opposite sides on both of these, and I don't really feel good about either one. I'm just going to rely on. Of course, I think San Francisco wins. Of course, I think they're the better team. Of course, I think they should be favored, and money line, that's the bet. San Francisco wins this game, yes. But do I think the Lions are 7 points worse? I guess I'll say no based on this whole body of work. I'll say there's a lot of really good players who play for Detroit, and they've had a really good season, and there's a way for them to score a bunch of points here. I honestly agree with you. San Francisco is going to put up a number, and then it comes down to whether Detroit can also put up a number, and I can't believe I'm saying that I think Jared Goff is good enough to do it. But last week kind of scared me, and I couldn't make myself do it again, I guess, with the Niners laying a bunch of points.
Yeah, I guess we have to also own. I'm not going to change my bet or my endorsement rather, but there is something to be said. And I've been saying this all year. Is that San Francisco's corners are where you're going to beat them. You're going to beat them on the outside. You're going to get to them. The problem is the pass rush has been so good since Young prior to this that you didn't get to that point. You didn't get to the point. I'm just saying they schemed guys open to the point where it's just Jaden Reed was just waiting for the ball, and so. That is all a possibility, but I think it's just I just think it's going to be a race. I think it's going to be a really offensive friendly game.
Me too. Me too. In fact, and my best bet is going to wind up being neither of the sides. I'm not going to pick that. My best bet is something else related to what you just said.
Okay.
So let's do props. There's no reason to explain them because we've talked through the games all the way through.
Of course. Yeah.
But what's your favorite of the ones that you picked?
Okay, McCaffrey over 37.5 receiving yards. One, you have the Debo factor, but that's not even that important to me. He could be completely healthy, and this would still apply to me. I just think he doesn't even need that much volume to get there. The way he can create and the way that they scheme him, but it's particularly against we didn't say to explain too much, but it's about those linebackers. I think they get them in space.
Yeah, no explanation needed. We'll just say
sure. Go for it. I got you.
I don't know if this is my favorite, but it's dovetails of the same thing. I'm going to do Aiyuk over 80.5. And I know you have PTSD because you had Aiyuk over last week and he did not come. He didn't do half over. There wasn't even a possibility for half over. But it's 80.5 and no Debo. Yes, Debo. I like Aiyuk an awful lot against this secondary. What's your next favorite prop?
It's actually, speaking to the thing we did, it's Gibbs over 44.5 yards rushing.
Okay.
I think they're going to have to lean on that, and he can gash. So, yeah.
All right. I only have one other. I'm going to do Rashee Rice over 59.5 because I just don't see anyone else. And, there's, these are all 3-yard passes, so it's not like a Marlon Humphrey problem. I see that continuing for Rashee Rice over 59.5. Do you have any other props?
I'm coughing. It's going to be weird. Listen, this is going to sound weird because I'm going to cough. Excuse me. Lamar Jackson. I don't know what happened here. I'm verklempt. Lamar Jackson over 57.5 yards. Running.
It's not 57.5. It's a lot more than that, isn't it?
59.5?
Looking in real time as of our talking about it, it was... that's a rush attempt.
It's 63.5. 63.5. I used an old line.
64.5. 64.5, actually. Yeah. Still over?
I'm not going to play that anymore. No. So, sorry. Old line.
All right. So there's the about face right there. If it was 63.5, Jim McCormick was on it. But 64.5, forget it. Go ahead.
I have one that actually wasn't from last week. It is Patrick Mahomes over 241.5 passing yards. I think he's going to do that.
Wow. I kind of don't, but yeah, I guess that describes our respective sides. My best bet. Okay, so we're going to ask you your best bet. All viewers on YouTube, please leave down in the comments. But my best bet is the over. It's the over in Lions 49ers. It's over 51. It's a big number, but I feel okay. The Niner defense scared me a little bit last week, so over 51.
That's a good one. I'm taking the over in the Kansas City game.
As your best?
44.5 points. I think it's going to go over. I think these teams will both score. I don't think it's going to reduce it's going to be tight. It's going to be somewhat of a rock fight, but I still think it's going to. There's just so many playmakers in the pocket. There's so many playmakers at quarterback that I think it's going to go over. So yeah,
I think there's only 2, but that is a lot. 2 is a lot. Playmakers at quarterback, that is.
2, yeah, that's 2. There's a lot of them, so there's 2 of them. That's more than 1.
It's fair. Hey, man, this is me backing you up. This is me having your back.
DraftKings has a special 1.5 super quarterbacks, and I'm taking the over. So.
That is generosity on DraftKings' part. That's it. But tell us down in the comments what you think the best bet is. You can. There's only a couple games, so you can pick a side, or you can pick a total, or you can pick a prop, whatever you think. Down in the comments, we'd love to read it. I know Dave Pyper will be down there answering all and any comments, mostly just going LOL because a lot of you are very funny about the stupid things that we say. So if you're listening on the podcast, go over to youtube.com/HarrisFootball. You can see the video there, and you can, you can leave a comment as well. That's going to do it. And Jim needs some water, so we're going to go.
Well, I did say... Yeah, Fangio. One more time.
It was a delayed reaction to Vic Fangio and the tumescence. He's very excited. That's all we can say. He's very excited. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Dave Pyper for producing. Jim McCormick, get some water. My name's Chris. Thank you. I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Thanks so much for watching. Please, please, please smash that like button. Write a comment. Tell us who else you'd like to see us review film on. And of course, best of all, please subscribe to our channel and then click that little bell above the subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever we post a new video.